Welcome to Cold Black Coffee, the podcast that took us so long to think of the name of Coffee Went Cold. I'm your host, Saba MD, also known as Young Imam, on all social media platforms, and I would love for you to follow me on there too. Recent news. This is sensitive, but I wanted to talk about it because you're actually an ex-BBC journalist.
Yeah.
Today I'm joined by Atif Rashid. I should have introduced earlier, but just got caught up with the title. But
It's alright, I think people know by now. I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. The topic of Hugh Edwards in the news has got a lot of people talking on both sides of the platform. One saying that he did nothing wrong because it was his private life. Another part of the world are saying he did something wrong from a moral perspective. I'm not here to cast judgment. We're here to have a conversation because you're writing an article about this topic, being the editor of The Analyst.
Yeah.
People are saying that, and this is a question I wanted to put to you first actually. In the world of work, if something comes to your attention which is a cause of concern, do you run straight to the press or do you go to HR? And should that have been the first course of action?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, isn't it? That, look, if you're at work and you're having an issue with an employee, you're facing bullying or harassment, what do?
Yeah.
Why would you go to the press, right? And expose yourself, expose everyone. You normally you deal with it with internal processes.
Yeah.
You go to HR, you log a formal complaint, there's an investigation, you're brought in, talks are had, conversation, blah blah blah, and then the issue is resolved, and then you don't need to make it in the public eye, and it's not, no one really cares. And these disputes happen all the time, right?
Yeah, if every dispute was to go to the press, you'd just have the papers full of people's stories about the stuff that they're going through outside of work. If it was a story like this.
Yeah. And that's what the press or the tabloids especially, they run off and they feed off it, the Daily Mail, the Sun, all these kind of tabloids, right? They feed off of gossip, salacious, sensationalist stories, right? They're looking for it. They even say, if you've got a story, we'll pay you. And apparently, well, we'll come to this in a minute, but the parents of that kid who apparently, was paid by Hugh Edwards, apparently, it was real that Talk TV are making a documentary and they paid the parents like thousands of pounds, right, just to tell their story, right? And so there's money to be had, there's people's reputations to be ruined, and also there's papers to be sold, right?
And I think that actually,
and one more thing, and also there's people have got agenda. Well, some people have said on social media, and other commentators have said that there's agenda against the BBC, and we've seen it, right? That the tabloids and the BBC are at odds with each other, right? And BBC is obviously a big competitor, and it goes against like the tabloidy kind of journalism. So it's in the interests of the tabloid and the tabloid media to take down the BBC. There's a whole ideological battle there as well about what journalism should be and who should have the reins of the public kind of journalistic voice.
Yeah. Why do you think it was taken to the press?
I don't know. This is the main thing. There's a complex case. We just don't know the facts. And this whole speculation on social media and just publishing it without all the facts, without naming him, just led to this whole frenzy of speculation, and then people getting defamed, right? People falsely being accused for doing an inappropriate act, right? Allegedly, right? And which was completely untrue. Jeremy Vine, he was falsely accused by some guy on social media, and just this morning he tweeted that the person who falsely accused him, he admitted that he did wrong, and he basically libeled him, and he had to do a whole public apology on Twitter saying, I'm sorry I did that, and it's completely unsubstantiated allegations. And Jeremy Vine then said, look, rather than paying damages to me, pay £1,000 to a charity, a motor neuron disease charity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so publicly he said that he had to make that public apology, right? And said that I made false allegations in Jeremy Vine, and it was completely baseless and untrue, and I'm sorry that I shouldn't have published it in the first place. So it's already happened, it's not barely been a week, right?
Yeah.
And somebody's already admitted to saying things like that, saying that wrongly.
Atif, you're writing an article on this.
I am.
Tell me about your article.
So look, I'm writing an article from my perspective, talking about where the media is failing right now, right? This was the whole reason Analyst News started, because the media, the British media, is going downhill. And it's not just the tabloids, right, which are jumping on the bandwagon of going after someone's private life. Everyone's got the right of privacy, right, public figure or not. right? And this had no substance. There's no criminality involved. Why did they publish it? So basically, what I'm trying to say is that our media is broken. It feeds off of kind of frenzy, you know, and public frenzy and speculation and rumor, right? And it shouldn't be like that. Journalism is supposed to be rooted in hard, cold facts. You shouldn't go to the printing press until you know the facts for sure, especially a sensitive story like this. There's so many issues of privacy, of defamation, right? Of duty to care. The person in question, Hugh Edwards, right? We know he's talking about it before. He had a whole history of depression, and now he's in a hospital suffering from serious mental health problems, right? And so the media has responsibility, and journalists forget it all too often, especially the tabloid media. But the thing that upset me most was the BBC jumped on the bandwagon, and BBC's own journalists started reporting it, and you know, started adding fresh allegations to the Sun's allegations, right? And those allegations weren't even anything which potentially I don't feel were in the public interest or people needed to know, right? Go to your HR, resolve it, and have a full investigation internally, yeah. Right? Once that's done, then you can publish something. Once the facts are clear,
yeah.
And then, you know, rather than building speculation, just people guessing, and then people getting upset and defamed, and you know, it caused a lot of distress. Imagine being accused of something so serious like that, which you didn't do,
yeah.
And then the whole world thinking you might have done it.
Yeah, so those individuals that were accused of doing something and they weren't, and they didn't actually do it, that's a whole different conversation. But when it comes to Hugh Edwards being talked about in the media,
yeah.
Which is his private life, which we'll come on to in a minute, but the impact it's had on his health, I don't know what he's thinking, but people are saying that his career is now, it's in the ruins.
No, but I've also seen some articles saying that, you know, other BBC presenters and others are calling for him to be back on air ASAP,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for sure his reputation is probably in tatters, because now as soon as you got that label on you,
that's what I mean. This is the danger.
Even like this, who was the recent case, that Man City footballer who was cleared of charges,
yeah.
And then there's Tariq Ramazan as well.
Okay.
I believe he had a case against him, and I believe he was cleared if I'm not wrong. But that's the thing.
Your label.
Yeah, it's just you pin that label. That's it. That's
you're known for the rest of your life.
Exactly, and not everyone's going to see that you've been cleared of it.
Yeah.
Right. Once you've got that, then there's a whole barrage of abuse that you're going to get, even though it might just be a false allegation, right?
Yeah.
So that's why making false allegations and then spreading it and then casting aspersions on someone is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Because firstly, you don't know the ins and outs of it. You just heard it. And secondly, things can be more complex than you think.
Yeah.
Wait until the investigation is done. When the facts are clear, then you can tell the public.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're ruining lives for no reason. Right? And that's why you shouldn't just, if someone accuses someone, I don't think you should take action straight away. Right? I mean, people got vendettas. If I don't like you, right, I could level a false accusation against you and get you off air or whatever. Right? It's ridiculous. That's not the way we should be going about things. Right?
Yeah.
At the same time, obviously, there are problems and stuff going on. That's why let the people who are in charge of doing the investigation, the authorities...
Let them finish.
Let them finish, and that's it. Okay? You don't have to start speculating and start abusing someone when they're completely innocent. You don't know. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. And it doesn't matter if one person's accused or two persons accused you, right? It's very possible that there's a whole campaign against you because someone's got some resentment or something. Yeah, it's very possible. That's why it's completely immoral and illogical as well to kind of have this whole culture of you know, just attaching blame and then just thinking someone is guilty before the facts have come out. And for a newspaper to do that is even more stupid, right? It's basic journalistic practice to establish the facts and don't publish something until you're sure. And especially in a sensitive case like this, I don't know what the Sun was thinking. Then again, am I surprised? I don't think so. But how long are we going to sit here and let the tabloids run riot with the lives of people, with the peace of society, right? And also destroying the name of journalism as well.
Do you know, as an ex-BBC journalist, as an ex-journalist even,
yeah,
are you shocked?
No, ex-journalist.
Sorry, ex-BBC journalist. Sorry, I'm being a journalist. Sorry, even now, are you shocked? What's happened?
Really shocked. Really shocked.
You're shocked that the tabloids published it?
No, I'm shocked that... No, I'm more shocked the BBC went and added fresh allegations.
Really? Okay, fine.
And John Sopel, who's also... news agents, right? He was really good. I think they covered it really well, this whole thing. And I agree with him. He's like, look, the BBC, when it came out that, you know, his Hugh Edwards' wife said that he's suffering from mental health problems and he's the presenter who's been at the center of these allegations. Okay, the BBC's covered it. But then right off the bat, right after that, they said, okay, and there's fresh allegations, and they continue this wall-to-wall coverage, knowing that he's in hospital, he's suffering right now, right? And your own organization is going against
you,
right? You're the face of that organization, right? And you've served it for all that time. Nothing's been proven yet, right? And you're ill in hospital, and your own journalists are investigating, your own organisation, wall-to-wall coverage. It's the BBC. You don't expect that from the BBC. That's why I was shocked. The tabloids, like, what do you expect?
What do you expect? I don't even know.
You shouldn't expect it, though. This is the other thing, right?
No. Tabloids are known.
They're known, but it doesn't mean you run riot, right?
Yeah, you're right. There's got to be a level.
There has to be levels, right? And the regulators, they're not up to scratch either. There's Hacked Off, which is a campaign group, which is trying to better regulate the newspapers, right? And they are saying that it's ridiculous right now. IPSO, which is the regulator, they're ineffective. They don't, the penalties that they give, they're very, very small. Oh, print a correction on page 53 or whatever, right? It's just, the Sun can get away with it. There needs to be more stricter controls.
Do you know, there's 2 points I wanted to make. One is the double standards of the tabloid. And I'll tell you the reason why. Massive allegations on Hugh Edwards for what he's done. Whether it's, obviously there's no criminal offence that he's committed. That's what the police have said. There's a conversation about, was it morally correct? But everyone's fair to live the life they want to live. Everyone's moral compass is different. We can't forget that either.
And there's your private life, the matter of public.
Yeah, now this is what I wanted to come to. But first, the double standard of the tabloids. The Sun were known notoriously for printing indecent images of women on page 3.
Yeah, for years.
And the first person who was on page 3 was 16 when she was paid to take her top off.
Ridiculous.
Now where's the double standards? Number 1. Number 2, the other question I wanted to ask is, where do you draw the line between public life and private life? That's my question. Because just because you're in the public eye, does that mean you've got no privacy left?
Exactly.
What's your opinion on that?
That's the thing. Look, in journalism, and not just in law, in media law, we're taught this, that everyone, whether in the public eye or not, they have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Whether you're Prince Harry or, you know, whoever you are, doesn't matter how famous you are, even if Rishi Sunak, you're not allowed to intrude upon their personal life. You're not allowed to go harassing their kids at school, or, you know, looking at what their wife is doing, you know, wherever in their workplace or whatever. Everyone has that basic respect. Now, there is a thing about public interest. Right? It is in the public interest to know if an MP is engaged in a scandal, or, you know, he's using certain public funds to fund his, you know, drug addiction or something like that. That's in the public interest potentially, right? Now, there's a fine line to balance between privacy and public interest. That's always a balancing act, right? The media has to make that kind of distinction sometimes, or that kind of decision, whether something is in the public interest or whether it invades the privacy. For example, you know, going after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and those letters, right, her dad's letters, which they published, that they admitted that was wrong, and they paid damages, £1 damage it was, even, whatever, but they admitted they were wrong in doing that. So there is always a balancing act to be made. And I think in this case, where it's no criminality, it's his personal life, I don't think that was in the public interest, right, personally. But, like, if it's a politician, for example, and they're, like, you know, there's been cases where politicians are watching certain dodgy content. Using, you know, in the House of Parliament, right? And that's their office, and they're paid by the public. There might be some, you know, public interest in exposing that. But even then, I think, I don't like this culture of the media going and digging and trying to find stuff. If it comes out naturally, right, and if there's an investigation, then obviously you'll report it. But going and trying to find, like, people's weaknesses and this and that, then, like, you know, the MP's expenses scandal, right, which the Telegraph exposed in 2009 or something, that was in the public interest. The public need to know that our MPs who we elected, they are using your funds and the taxpayers' money to, you know, to buy second houses and, you know, do whatever they're doing, right? And so it's always a balancing act. It's not easy, I'll tell you. It's a tricky area.
Have you struggled with that as a journalist?
No, luckily I didn't. Because I didn't like get involved in that kind of investigative work. I was more on the social media side, but I can see where it is a struggle, and it's always, this is the thing people don't realize, that there's always debates and discussions happening in newsrooms about whether we should publish this, whether we should not. Then the lawyers need to get involved. Like, are we going to be intruding on their privacy, or is this strong enough for the public to know? And because when you go to a court and like, for example, Meghan Markle, she took the tabloids to court, she won, right? Then that's when the court is going to decide whether you are right in publishing that and it's a public interest, or you invaded their privacy. There was a case, I forgot, I don't remember it, but I remember learning in media law that basically, I don't know, some celebrity was praying in a church with their kid or something like that, and the media came and started taking pictures of them, and that was invading their private life. Yeah, because like, they're praying in a private setting with their children. There was another one where there's a celebrity, they were going to rehab, and again, the press and the tabloids and paparazzi went and followed her into rehab, right? And they were like, look, this is invasion of privacy. That's not in the public interest, right? The public doesn't need to know that, this is what she's doing. She's trying to get herself better. You're overly intruding. Yeah. This was, as far as I remember, this was similar kind of cases which you come across.
I don't know, I've heard people talking about, we pay TV license.
Yeah.
And this is not appropriate because we pay the TV license. Have you heard any responses, or have you spoken to anybody who might have given you an answer as to those people who are saying you shouldn't have done that because you pay our TV license?
I've seen that argument, and I get the argument that look, we are paying his salary basically,
right?
And so we should expect a certain type of morality from him.
Okay,
right? Is that true? I don't know.
The thing is that when we say,
like, you want to know that the guy whose wages you're paying, right, what is he doing?
No, but hold on, I think there's two things here. Oh. Like I said this in the beginning, there's a moral compass. Yeah. So everyone's got their own moral compass. Or you can't say your moral compass is wrong or my moral compass, unless you're crossing into the land of something illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, or you're a criminal.
In this country, it's not illegal to pay someone to have
indecent images sent to them.
Yeah, right. That's not illegal.
Well, that's why not.
But it's immoral. Like, from our spanning, right? Fine. It's for sure it's immoral. But in this side, it's not immoral anyway.
Right. So what I'm saying is that for someone to say we're paying, so for someone to say we are paying his wages by paying the TV license.
Yeah. But what's that got to do with his work? What he's doing in his private life, what is that affecting his work? No, it's not. So why is it in the public interest? No.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
politicians, I bet you, like, I can't say that because, right, but like, you don't know. Everyone's doing something, right? Yeah. It's not.
Everyone's got skeletons in the. Everyone's got skeletons in the closet, and I agree with that. And I think there's got to be a very balanced approach here, and you got to look at the facts.
Exactly.
That he's not a criminal.
Yeah.
We live in a day and age where everyone's got their own moral compass. Yeah. Tabloids have used children, people at the age of 16, to do things which would go against people's own moral compass. So I think it's really important to not to judge people, number one, and number two, but let things pan out.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to finish actually with your article. Is there anything else in your article which you're writing about which you think is important to share? Because I don't know anybody else writing an article on this at the moment, so close to home. But is there any other points you want to mention that we haven't touched upon that you think are worth mentioning? Because your article is looking at it from the perspective that the media is broken.
Yeah, the media is broken. The tabloids are running riot with the peace of society, right?
Yeah.
And this is the problem. Even the UN concluded that even their coverage against refugees, right? And their coverage about immigrants and asylum seekers and other religions and faith groups, like Islamophobia is like crazy, right? Yeah. You see the crazy type of articles that they publish, right? That's what I'm saying, that they can't be allowed to continue like this, and there needs to be a change, because this will keep on happening, because this is not the first time. There's the phone hacking scandal, there's the Hillsborough disaster, right, which they're notorious for, right? The way they covered that is the Sun is banned in Liverpool, basically, right? They call it the rag, right?
Oh, really? Because of the
Hillsborough disaster, when they blamed Liverpool fans for the disaster and accused Liverpool fans of like stealing stuff from victims and things like that and all sorts, right? All these false accusations, and now they call the scum in Liverpool, and
really?
Banned. Yeah, news agents don't stock it because they hate it. And it's about time we realise that, okay, there's the defence is always free speech and expression.
But there's got to be a limit.
There's got to be a limit. It's ridiculous. There already is a limit. The defamation, you can't defame someone. There's privacy. It's already in our laws. But the thing is, the tabloid media, the press, is a bit too strong right now. And they're allowed to get away with things. And the regulators, Ipsos, for example, they are almost self-regulated. The editors of these newspapers, they're on that board. And so they basically self-regulate themselves. After the Levinson inquiry, they said that there needs to be an independent regulator. And even the NTJ, the National Union for Journalism, NUJ, even they said that Ipsos isn't, like, a lot of organisations have said Ipsos isn't fit for purpose, and Impress, which is another regulator, they're following them, right? But the big newspapers, they're regulated by Ipsos, which isn't doing a good enough job of regulating them. So anyway,
what do you think should have happened?
Nothing.
No, in the sense of, from what's come out in the papers, if you were Ipsos, or you were regulator, what would you have done?
Look, I'd have to look at the case detail. Like, first of all, you need to go back through it and look at how that decision was made, what evidence they had. And the other thing, right, is that the kid, or whoever who was accused, the victim, or whatever you want to call him, the young person, who apparently was paid money, he, through his lawyer, denied anything wrong happened. They said it's all rubbish. They said the Sun's article was rubbish and everything. They denied it. And apparently it was the evening before the Sun was going to publish it. Normally in journalistic practice, you'd publish the denial. You say, but he denies it, blah, blah, blah. They didn't even publish that. They didn't publish anything, right? Which raises a lot of questions. Like, what were they thinking? And if they weren't sure about their allegations, like, why did they publish it? And why didn't you publish the name, right? You only don't publish the name if you're not sure of it. And if you're not sure of it, you don't publish.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Exactly.
That's a really good point.
It's just silly. It's not a new point either. It's been everywhere. Like, people know, right? And it just creates this whole kind of more questions than answers. You never write an article which has more questions than answers, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and you know, there's like, I've been speaking to like Hacked Off, which is trying to kind of create more accountability for newspapers, and they've given me a comment which you can see in the article. But basically,
what did you ask them?
I asked them basically that, look, how do you think the media handled this? What needs to change? Do you think there's public interest? And basically, they said that you know, lives have been destroyed. And they said that a man's in hospital, and they basically, obviously they're not happy with the way it's happened, and they said that you know, a man has been hospitalized, his family has been destroyed, a young person has seen their drug addiction issue splashed across the newspapers for the world to pick over, right? And he said this episode demonstrates the extraordinary power the press has to inflict harm against people, and underlines the urgent need for an independent system of regulation, right? And they also said that basically Ipsos, the Sun's complaint handler, right, which is supposed to regulate it, they said that it only upholds 3 in every 1,000 complaints, right? It's never fined a newspaper, right? If you haven't fined it, and by the way, if you fine them, they can absorb it anyway, because they're making loads anyway. The more salacious it is, the more they're going to get circulation.
Clicks.
More clicks. It's like clickbait. And it says it has never launched a standards investigation in its history. It relies on a standards code written by a group of newspaper editors, right? It's not independent. So they said there's no chance of accountability while they remain in Ipsos, and there needs to be an independent regulator.
Oh, really?
And he said that it should be a wake-up call. This is a statement which I got from Hacked Off, right, which is the campaign for better accountability for newspapers, and they basically like, this should be a wake-up call for politicians to act now to introduce independent regulation for all national newspapers before more lives are destroyed. Lives are being destroyed unfairly, and it's not just Hugh Edwards' life, it's not just the young kid's life, it's all those BBC presenters, and guess what, it's all the people on social media who have no knowledge of media law, right, who've defamed loads of people, loads of BBC presenters, who can now be sued for God knows how much. And their lives are going to be destroyed. You're destroying lives after lives, you're destroying the peace of society, you're creating this frenzy. Like, something has to give. Like, what is the limit? And free speech isn't a defense, I'm sorry, right? Even in free speech laws, you have certain clauses which say, you know, everyone has free speech except when it's incitement to hatred, except when, you know, it's disrupting the peace of society, except when it's against national security. They already exist. I don't understand why people keep referring to this. And it's the same with, I mean, this is going to go on another tangent, but, you know, the Sweden burning thing as well, the Quran burning thing, right? It's not free speech. You're inside. What's the purpose of you doing it? Just to sell some newspapers? Just to, you know, let your anger out a bit? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to think of the bigger picture.
Yeah, there's got to be a line where you draw. After takeaway points, you know, we always do takeaway points on the podcast. What's your takeaway point going to be?
Takeaway point is that...
I say point, but you know,
points. I always do points.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's so many points that you take from this, because for some reason I feel like it's sad. It's actually sad what's happened. But yeah, what would your takeaway point be?
Let me do 3 takeaway points. Right. Basically, look, I think number one, for sure, the media shouldn't be publishing allegations or anyone on its own until they've been verified, investigated, and all the facts are established. Basic journalism, I know.
Fine.
But yeah. Secondly, everyone needs to stop this culture of speculation, right? We need to stop thriving on this culture of gossip and scandal, right? And it's too much in our society, right? Let things happen. Then when it's concluded, the facts will come out, and then that's it. You need to stop. Just get on with your own lives, right? Like,
worry about yourself.
Yeah, worry about yourself, exactly. And then tabloids, right? I think they are at the moment a menace in our society, and free speech is no excuse. Something needs to change until something even worse happens. Like, there's been such crazy things happen, still nothing. But what I'm more disappointed with is, you know, how the BBC jumped on it as well. But basically, look, the 3 taking points is like something needs to change. We need to worry about ourselves, and you know, don't share allegations, especially look, if you're on social media, don't share allegations, or even if you share an allegation, right, and it's not true, you can still be sued. So be careful.
Yeah, be careful. My takeaway was going to be speak a good word or remain silent. That's what the Holy Prophet of Islam taught. I know it's a religious angle, but to be honest, I don't know where these words would fit better in the world in which we live in, where people jump to conclusions. Speak a good word or remain silent. Thanks for listening. Conversation is king, and I hope to see you and hear you here again on another episode of Cold Black Coffee.